Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Conscious Leadership podcast. I have with me very beautiful Nicole that I met actually on the stage, and we ended up without knowing in the room together in a panel. And I was just looking at her and I was like, oh my gosh, like this woman is so beautiful and she smiles so much. And I was like, I just really want to talk to her more. So I was stalking her a little bit on socials and I was looking at her amazing work she does, mostly for women and really helping people to feel more empowered and get back the confidence because we all, we were born with this beautiful energy and love and confidence when we were young kids, and we kind of lose it sometimes on the way. So I said, you know what, this will be really great and valuable for you guys who is listening here, just to have an idea how to build up or rebuild yourself again and hear more about Nicole and what she does and what's her story. So welcome, Nicole. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It was so wonderful to meet you while we were on the panel, and I could say the same back to you. I couldn't wait to get to know you better too.
Thank you so much. And guys, I told you, she's smiling already. So, Nicole, if you can give us a little bit of background, because I read your story in I think it was in a magazine in LA,
Mm,
Women's Journal.
yeah.
So I would love to know kind of like how did you end up doing what you do right now? Because I know you're more coaching and helping female, but I'm sure that was not always your work or your background. So take us a little bit through your story and what happened in your life that you arrived this beautiful place where you can help people.
Um, Oh, well, thank you. Well, yes, I'm in a totally different place than I ever thought I would be. This was for sure not even on my trajectory. And I will tell you, when I was in university, I would have never even thought this was going to be something I would do. Although in university, I was majoring in sociology and psychology, and that probably should have given me some clues as to the things I actually love. But let me take you back a little bit. So many years ago, we have a family business, and I was very lucky to be part of our successful family business. We had it for 60 years within our city. It was a chain of children's wear stores, upper end children's wear stores, and I was the vice president of our company. It was something that I grew up with because my grandfather started it, then my dad, then me, and it was something I really loved. It was something that kind of just I wasn't sure this is what I was going to do, but I also realized that in our family I wanted it to continue, and there wasn't really anybody else coming up through our family line that was going to pursue it or go after it. So I thought, well, I did not want it to
You?
go anywhere else. It was me. And so I thought, well, I really wanted to make sure that my dad and my grandfather had somebody to carry on the legacy that they had built. And so I worked with my dad for many years, a successful company, and it was great. But what was happening was I was newly married at one point during my time being there, and I was having my first child. And I wasn't sure, whether I could continue this business on. My dad also at the time what got really sick, and he had always been a very, very active, healthy, just an energetic person. And he started to decline quite fast. And so we took a look at our business, and we just didn't know if it was going to be feasible. And really, it was going to be me taking it over. And I was just having my first child, and we were busy. Like, it was a really busy business. And if you know anything about retail, you're never closed.
Oh, yes, I
And
know.
so it was, yes. So it was nonstop. We made the decision to close the business. And it was heart-wrenching because it was me who actually had to make the decision to really say this is it. And within 2 weeks of closing it, I had my little girl. And I remember just feeling sick inside because
Mm.
it was something that, we had to let go of a lot of employees. We had tons of customers and clients that were really sad. It was letting go of something that was so deep within our family. So I decided to be a stay-at-home mom. And when I look back, I did a lot of things, and this will come all clear as we go along. But I decided to be a stay-at-home mom. My mom had been a stay-at-home mom. My mother-in-law was a stay-at-home mom, and I just thought, well, this is what I should be doing. And also, my husband at the time thought this is what we should be doing. But I can tell you that all the way along, I was really hiding my feelings of ambition and the things I really wanted to do. And I really felt shame for that. And so I stayed home with the kids and it was fine. But I always was kind of dreaming of what I could maybe do, but I also didn't think, and these are beliefs that come in, I didn't think I could be a really good mom and run a really
Everything.
successful business. I
Yeah,
just think I could.
very
And
common. Yeah.
so, yeah, it was something I just didn't even think was possible. So I fought those two beliefs, right? Just fought inside of me all the time. So, anyways, I was home with the kids, and everything from the outside looked great. And we had a beautiful home, great family, friends, and everything looked wonderful. But within our four walls, everything was kind of falling apart. And all of a sudden, my husband, out of not necessarily out of the blue, but very much almost overnight, told me he no longer wanted to be married, and he left. And I was left with these two beautiful children looking at me, being like, what are we going to do? So not only had I lost the business that, was
Yeah.
something part of my identity, and I had left it to be at home, but then I lost all my income. I lost all my confidence, my ability, and I really lost me. I lost me all in the process. I look back now and I was not consciously making decisions. I was really unconsciously making decisions all the way along. It was part of who I was. I used to always just do what was best for everybody else and really didn't think much about me. And so I had to rebuild and I had to start over. And I was in my early 40s and I thought, how am I going to do this? I mean, I like literally had to start over. And so I decided to, one of my good friends had suggested I do a direct marketing company because then I could be home with my kids and be able to work. And I'm like, okay, that's perfect because that's what I always wanted to do anyways. And so I started that and it really got my confidence back. I built a huge team. We became really quite successful. They flew me around everywhere. I got all these
Nice.
gifts. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like I'm back. I'm back. And it felt really nice. But I realized while I was doing that business that I was talking to all these amazing women. And yes, I was selling skincare at the time. And so, yes, we talked about skincare, but really we talked about everything else but skincare. It was always like what was going on in their lives, what is really happening,
Yeah.
what they were happy with, what they weren't happy with. And I realized in my heart, I really wanted to help these women fly. Like I was like, I want to take them somewhere else. I want to do something different with them. And so I had been a dancer my whole life. And so I thought, well, I know how to get people to move. I know how to do that and I can do that. So I thought, well, I'll take all my money from my personal develop or from my direct marketing and I will use it to put myself back in school to be a personal trainer. And so I did that. I actually worked with a client for free for a whole year to learn it because I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing. And every morning I would go out of our house with like a bag over my shoulder with weights, like super heavy weights, and like my mat because I was going to their home. And it was 6 in the morning. Sometimes it was in tons of snow. And I was like, what am I
Oh,
doing? I'm like, and as much as I did love it. I loved it, but I knew this was probably not great longevity wise. But I also noticed something with my clients. And I was like, they are not getting long-term transformation. Like they're great when I'm with them, but when we stop working
yeah.
together, they would fall off the track. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is
Like everyone.
happening? Like everybody. And I was like, why? Why? Because we've been working really hard. And so I thought, well, I need to learn more and I got to help them at a different level because it wasn't just about moving their body. Obviously, it was
Yeah.
so much more. And so I went back to school again and I just took whatever money I had that I had made. And I said, I went back and I became a health coach. And then I became a life coach. And then I got my mastery in life. And people started getting way better results. And I started to understand them. We were building deeper habits. We were starting to really get into all aspects of their life. But there was still something missing for them and for me. And it was still that long-term transformation. They were getting longer, but it wasn't like they were really feeling successful. They were, they didn't
Yeah.
have a deep belief that they could do it long term. Like this could be what they really needed to do. And I also in my business was really struggling with my confidence. Like, can I do this on my own? Can I build again? Can I, all the things that I wanted to do. And once I started to like, so then I started to study neuroscience. And that was when like every light bulb in my mind went off, being like, I know now what is holding us all back, all of us
Yeah.
back is, our beliefs of who we believe we are and what we can do. And when you don't have great beliefs of what is possible, or you have a label for yourself or a
Yep.
belief of, who you are, it's going to manifest. And I started to see why the people that I was working with were not getting long term. And so once I started to understand this, started to study subconscious reprogramming, and really started to understand embodiment and action and all of the things that needed to happen, everybody started to get these amazing results. And I had these women that were so much like me, stuck, they were super ambitious. Like, these women were super ambitious, high achieving, they've always done all the things. They've gone to school, they checked all the boxes off, got their job, got married, got the house. Some of them, a lot of them had children. They did all the things, but they had lost themselves along the way because they had never really sat and asked what it was they wanted. They had never really looked at what they wanted. And then, like, that was even scary for them to even ask that question, because then they would have to maybe change their life and change their different things. And so I started to use it all. I used my personal training, I used my health coaching, I used hypnotherapy, and I started to help these women really come back to themselves. Just like what you said at the beginning, we're born these incredible beings, like, just full of light, full of love, full of deep belief in ourselves. I always think about when kids are little, they always say, Mommy, watch me, see me, look at me. Because they always are like, I can do it, watch me. And they believe in themselves so deeply. And they ask why so many times because they don't believe they can't. They just want to know why not.
Yeah.
And I just help bring us all back to that place again where we have this inner knowing that we matter, not with our degrees, not with all of our accomplishments, but we just matter, period. And we have certain beliefs and dreams in our heart. And I love to help women really find those again and make their next chapter the best one.
Wow. I love that. So I feel like we can just finish now
I
because
know it was a long one.
like,
Sorry, it was just
wow,
going,
no,
going.
that's perfect. It's like it's perfect. You said so many things that I have question for as well, because there was like all these
Sure.
different stages of your life and your hunger for knowing more and helping deeper. And I love that, because I believe that's the true journey of, real coach that really wants to help, and your hunger for being better in helping or understanding
Mhm.
people. I just love where that took you. I think that's such a beautiful space to go through. Like, I love neuroscience, and exactly that helped me so much to understand why we do what we do, and how, or why people don't change, because that is exactly the struggle, right? You give people all these beautiful strategies. And I so many business coaches, for example. I just spoke with my client and I said, why did you even join me? Like what was the difference? And he was like, you were not telling me that I have to call these people every 9 weeks, because I know we have to do it, but that's boring. I don't want to do it that way. And I was like, yeah, because that's not what you need to do. You need to do something that is aligned with you, and you need to align your action with your values, with your personality, with your purpose. And like, if you will do the same thing, all, 8 billion people on the planet, people will be just
Mhm.
smashed by calls every 3 weeks, right? Or every week. So,
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
that's why we need to be different. And so many people, drive you through this same kind of blueprint. Like, you need to go to exercise, you need to do that. But I love that you're like, oh no, it's not working. There's something. So,
Right.
so for people that they feel at the moment, for example, that they're stuck, and like they want to create change, and maybe they started to create change, but they always come back to kind of old themselves, and they find
Yeah.
themselves in a few months like, oh, I was slacking again, or I'm different again, I'm not me, what I wanted to build up. So what you will tell them, what they need to know?
Yeah, well, first of all, I always say it's not your fault, right? Because lots of times they think like there's so much shame behind not being able to, they say to people, I'm going to change my health, or I'm going to, take my business to this level, or I'm going to get in this kind of relationship. And they make these promises not only to themselves, but to others. And then, they're on their way, they're motivated because they have this deep yearning to do these things, and they get going, and then all of a sudden, like you just said, they fall back and they can't figure out why, because they want it, and
Yeah,
consciously they know they could get it if they just do this and do this, they can get it, but they don't do it. And so, what we really need to understand is that the mind loves things that are familiar. So, the mind loves the things that we have done over and over and over again, which is often the life we're living right now. The mind is so comfortable with it, and it thinks, "Oh, you're good, you're doing well. Well, you haven't died yet, so I think everything's going okay, okay." And it's comfortable. It's really comfortable. And so the mind loves to keep you there. So when you have something that you're so excited to do that's new, the mind is going to work really hard in telling you not to do it many, many times, because it's something new. It doesn't know what's going to happen to you if you do this. It doesn't understand. So it will bring in all these stories of
yeah,
all the reasons why you can't do this, which aren't true. They're not true, but your mind is trying to protect you. And when your mind is trying to protect you, when you go to do something new that's scary, it will really try to hold you back. And that's why often we'll get going and then we
yeah,
fall back again, because we want to come back to that comfort zone, even though it's not good for us, even if it's not like
yeah,
in alignment with what we want to do.
yeah,
So it's just these limiting beliefs of what is possible in this new part of you, this new thing that you want to do. It's just these beliefs that are holding on tight, saying it's almost like that, like an elastic band pulling you
exactly.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah, pulling you back, right? And so I want to always say it's not your fault, but what we do need to do is we need to see what it is that is holding you back. We need
yeah,
to find out what it is, and we need to change that around.
yeah. So it's first awareness. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
awareness number one.
So what do you think about, okay, there are two questions I have for you. So one thing is that do you suggest that people should check in and maybe ask themselves if they were challenged this week? And if when they were not challenged, they should get something that will challenge them, right? Like being out of their comfort zone. Is that something that you believe in?
And you mean, and so can you make sure I understand that when you're saying a challenge, do you mean asking themselves if they need to be challenged? Can you explain that? What you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. So
Yeah.
when you have that feeling when you're starting something new or something unknown, let's call it unknown.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be
Yes.
challenged. Like let's say it's
Okay.
unknown. So this makes you
Okay.
uncomfortable. Probably that's the better word.
Yes. Yes.
Uncomfortable.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you don't feel uncomfortable during the week, is that something? Is that reflection of like looking at it like maybe I'm not growing or maybe I should just have a
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. That is such a good way to look at it. And I don't always use that, but it is so good because many of us like live to be in comfort. Like we don't
yeah,
want to do anything out, right? And so if we're feeling like everything's just like fine and doing great, and it's not to say that that isn't good, because we do need the balance of both, right? We need the
yeah,
balance of like the new normal, feeling good in that for a bit, and
yeah,
then we want to grow again. But if we're never being challenged, or if we're never feeling uncomfortable, there's
yeah,
usually something going on where there's a bit of fear, things are holding us back. We're not, taking our lives to the next level. We, maybe don't have the confidence to go do the things that we really want to do. So that is a great way to look at it, is that if I'm never being challenged during the week, what does that mean about me? Like, am I actually going to be growing? And that's a really good question.
yeah. So I love that you also brought that balance in, right? So being balanced because there's on other side we can get addiction probably to being challenged all the time and
For
just burn out.
sure.
So
For
there's another thing that pop up in this, and I want to know your intake on people because you mentioned like trying something new, unknown, and all that. But there's all I can say it because that was me. So there's this other side of people, other part of people. They maybe use that unknown as an escape, right? Like I need to learn more, I need to know more.
Ah,
So what do you see in that? You know that kind of drive of I want
yes.
different, I want this different, I want this new thing, and I need to learn more because maybe I don't know enough, or like all these kind of pulls. Sometimes is that unhealthy pull, like of
Yeah.
shiny, I think shiny object thing that as well is part of
Yeah.
it. So what is
Yeah.
your kind of opinion? Do you have do you see people like that, and what is maybe
Oh my gosh.
what is the cure for us?
Well, you know what? I think on all of that, that's such a good one because I for sure have had that too, where it's just, that drive for more. And I always have to check in where it's coming from. So is it from a place of healthy, like that, I'm just wanting to learn more, or is
Well,
it
yeah,
from a place that I don't know enough and I keep telling myself I don't know enough? So is it coming from a place of
that's
lack? Or is it coming from a place of abundance? And I think there's a big difference in that. And when you're really striving for more because you need the titles or you need the recognition
yeah,
or you need the high from it because you need something outside of you to make you happy. And then every time you get it, you need more and you need more. It's almost like that drug, right? That you need more of it. Is that something that is actual growth, or is it something that you're striving for because you can't find that happiness within? So
yeah.
I think there's a difference in just what is the intention behind it. Is it from a place of
I love it.
lack, or is it from a place of abundance?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful lens to have, and just really take everything what we do and all decisions around it, especially something, new and shiny, just to really look,
Yeah,
okay, so where is that coming from? Is that my ego to make me feel good, or is that my soul
yeah,
because it's going to bring me closer to my purpose, or
yeah,
yeah, I love that.
yeah. I love the way you explained it too. It's so true.
It's such a great, like, yeah, I love to talk to you just because it's kind of like a similar topic, but everybody using, different language. And I think the language is
Yes,
the most important part because that kind of
yeah,
pulls people and opens minds of like more people because everybody feels different about different words and different language.
yeah,
It's
yeah. No, so good.
And I would like to know, there is something in your story, like it sounds so, like easy and smoothly, like how you went through that, like bad things happens, but I stand up, I stood up, I was,
Mm,
but I
mhm.
know there's always the struggle, right? So I want to know what helped you because you had a few times kind of feeling of, okay, I lost confidence, I don't know who I am anymore. So what was the trigger to, first of all, know that you need to do something? And maybe what
Mhm.
was that feeling or trigger that came? And
Yeah,
when it happens, when that triggers you, what actually kind of kept you to have that confidence that you can actually make it happen or you can help yourself?
yeah, yeah. I think what happened is that I, for so long, was not listening to myself. I was not listening to what I needed, what I wanted. I never voiced it. I think I was always just trying to be the good girl or be,
Yeah,
be liked or make sure that everybody else was happy because if everybody
that's
else was
yeah.
happy, yeah, if everybody else was happy, then it'll be okay, but that didn't mean I was okay. It didn't. And so I kept making like this pattern. It was within our family business, and then it was within like my marriage, and then being a stay-at-home mom, and then you know I think what happened was that it accumulated, and with the end of my marriage it was like those times in life where you don't want to have to get to that point for you to change, but I had to. And it was like the universe was finally doing like a 2x4 in my head and saying, "Come on,
It's
you
like
got
big slap.
it." Yes, it's a big slap because I just wasn't waking up. I wasn't waking up to me, like who I was. I didn't see my value. I didn't, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I really didn't see my value very much. I'd go to these, I remember I'd go to these mom meetings, like all these moms would get together with the kids, and a lot of the women were very successful and done all these things. And I remember this feeling of being a stay-at-home mom, and I was like, oh, I didn't feel successful in it. Now when I look back, I'm like, that was so ridiculous because I was doing one of the most important jobs there is in the world. But I had all these things, this idea of what makes you successful, and all of this was in there. Um, and I just had lost myself all the way along. I really had. So I would tell you that when all of a sudden I had to create everything all by myself, I had to grow really quickly. And I remember, this is what I do remember. My dad was an amazing champion of me. He always was so like complimentary to me. And I remember him always saying, "You can do anything you want, Nicole. Anything in life you can do."
I love it.
And it's so amazing when I look back now how important those words were because I loved it when I was younger and it was nice, but I probably took it for granted. It was just so sweet. But when it came to a crisis and I had to start getting myself up again, those words were anchored and they were really deep. And it was like, I can do anything. I know you believe in me, Dad. I know you believe in me. And he was really sick at the time. He was actually dying. And I remember like just being like, I've got to do this. And not only that, I had my children looking at me and I thought they can't, they need me. Like they didn't ask for this. They didn't
Mm.
ask for any of this. And I really thought, I don't want them living a story of that their mom gave up or their mom didn't do what she needed to do.
Love it.
So all of these things were kind of those turning points. But I will tell you that until I got so when I got that direct marketing job, what it did is those women in that company just literally lifted me off the floor. Like I was on the floor. And when you were saying it seemed kind of seamless, it was so not seamless in so many ways. I mean, there was nights where I cried myself to sleep almost every night and mornings were tough and it just seemed like it was a nightmare and I was just waking up to the same nightmare over and over again. But these women picked me up and they said let's go and they showed me all the ways to make this work and they supported me and one night this was so beautiful actually. If you don't mind me sharing this story, this is like a beautiful part of my story, but I was at home and it was the very first night the kids were not going to be with me in the house. And I, being a stay-at-home mom and having my ex-husband say that he was going to take them for 50% of the time almost just took me to the ground. I was like, I'm not going to be with them 50% of their life now. It was horrible. So I remember the first night that they weren't with me. And the house was so quiet, and there was no fighting, and there was no like wrappers from their snacking.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so quiet, and it felt dark, and it was horrible. And my doorbell rang, and I remember this woman from our neighborhood was at the door, and she had a package with her, and she said, "Can I come in?" And I said, "Yeah, please." And she said, all the ladies in the neighborhood got together, and we got you something. So I started pulling things out, and they written me these incredible cards. Like, I mean, they had a little book with all these affirmations. They had, like, it was so beautiful. And then there was this box wrapped so beautifully with like a white bow. And I opened it up and they had got me my very first iPad to start my business.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, oh my
It's
gosh.
so nice. Oh, I
So
need to
they
cry.
were like, it was probably one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And I realized in that moment that I'm not so alone, that I have people believing in me
Yeah.
and that, I can do this. I can do this. And so in my darkest, it was like one of my darkest moments because I couldn't believe I'm in this place. But at the same time, it was one of the moments where I was filled with so much love from them that they gave me a lot of hope.
Mm.
So between them and the women of the direct marketing company, they started to build my confidence again. And once I started to build my confidence, and I think this is key, like we need some little itty bitty success points. So
Mm.
I
Yeah.
started to build my confidence. And from that place, then I could start dreaming again. Then I could start thinking bigger than where I was. Because without that confidence, without knowing that I could do something, without celebrating some of the things, I was
Mm.
going to stay really down low. And, but they got me dreaming again. And once I started to dream, that's when I started to think about all the things that
Love
had
it.
always been here, always been here. Like I always wanted to help people. Like I wanted to be a doctor when I was little. I had all these kind of things. And so this was like, oh, they started me dreaming again and getting me in touch with what my heart knew I was meant to do here on this earth. So,
I love it. I love
yeah.
it. You made me cry, so I need to just have a break. No, I'm going to say thank you so much for sharing that story because I think it is it just a few things pop up in my mind with that story because we need someone to believe in us, right? And if we have no one, I was just thinking because it's so beautiful what your neighbors did, right? That's such a
Oh,
beautiful love act or act of love
mm,
and generosity. And people are so busy, so many people don't have time to think about other people and neighbors and everyone around. So I
yeah.
think this is such a beautiful reminder. Then go and knock the doors on your neighborhood or in your neighborhood
Yes.
and just give people something beautiful, small, because no one knows that can be the right moment for that, right? Like the right moment for that person to change their life forever. And if you don't have anyone as well, it's for me, that was book, for example, I was reading, because nobody told me I can do everything in life. So even,
Yeah.
just buy the book, or search for some books, because in a book that means probably nothing because it's very old now, but there was these small affirmations and quotes that I
Yeah.
love to read. And I was like, oh my God, like these quotes, like that makes sense. I can do everything. So being with people that believe in you, and have someone next to you that will challenge you, but same time celebrate you, and acknowledge you when we don't have that internal strength to acknowledge ourselves, or feeling good about ourselves, I think is so important. And you had such a beautiful story around that. It's such a great act. Like, I'm saying hi to all the women that did it, because that was so beautiful.
Uh,
And I hope this will maybe inspire, it's the word, inspire other people as well to look around and see people. I think seeing people, because we can smile outside, we can look like everything is fine, but look deeper and see and feel people, because everyone here is yearning, I think is the word, the real connection. I was at a meeting today, and we have a chat. It's supposed to be, of course, like a sales meeting, but I never really have sales meeting as a sales meeting. We just have a chat, and the guy was like, "Wow, honestly," and he said, he actually swear, and he said, "This is f good," like, and
yeah.
it was awesome. And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, I didn't expect this, but I had, after 30 years, great, connective conversation, that I can be honest, and I think that, that small thing that we can do for anyone around us, just to listen, because it's such a beautiful gift we can give each other. And I love what you said, that having small wins and small things to celebrate, because every step on the journey is actually more important than the result or goal. And the small things that we actually do, making us better human, making us better parent, making us, better person. And I think all the small things, we forget about the journey. We forget so many times about journey, and we focus so much on the, goal and vision, where we're going. And of course that's important, but how important it was for you, those small things and small celebrations and small achievements. It's so beautiful. I love that. Thank you
Well,
so
I want to, yeah, well, I want to share back to you because you were just saying, that that was something that you had to search for a little bit because it wasn't something that was always told to you or it wasn't something that you had. And I want to really celebrate you doing this podcast and doing these things because that was the other avenue. Every morning, I would put my like earphones
Yeah.
on and I would listen to podcasts because I needed to hear what was possible. I needed to hear every day what is possible, and I need to hear the stories of inspiration. I needed to have, I remember one of the podcasts I was listening to, he was like, the success, like how you're going to gain success and build yourself up is constantly grab every positive message out there and listen to it non-stop until it becomes who you are. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is exactly like what you're doing here too,
Oh,
is that this is how we change lives because you never know who's at home listening to this right now or in their car or wherever they are, that just those few words, they can change their life and it can fill their heart that day. It can give them hope.
yeah.
It did that for me all the time. So
Yeah.
thank you for this.
Oh, thank you so much. And I love your story. And I absolutely agree. And it's such a great thing that you said those small things, even listening to podcasts. Like I was saying, like I was so lost, and I'm thinking, I need to hear someone, that already achieved it, already tried, or someone's story. And I
Mhm.
was all the time on podcast, even going for walk, just going for a walk and having something, some positive message. So I remember always that what you feed your mind, that's what you become, because it's actually helping you. And everything that
Yeah,
you read, instead of watching negative news when you feel already down, I would say don't watch it, go to listen to podcasts or read something inspirational. It is so important because we feed our body, we feed, we feed our mind. And
same thing.
yeah, so thank you so much for being here, Nicole. I love your
Oh,
story, and I'm so happy we did this. I'm really
I
excited.
am
And thank you
too.
so much for making me cry. It was so good. I was like, oh, you definitely feel my heart. I feel so good.
Oh,
So, so
oh.
for women or for people, if they want to connect with you and want to talk to you or work with you, where they can find you, what's
Sure.
the best way?
Sure. So my business name is Next Step with Nicole Renee. You can find me at nextstepwithnicolerenee.com. On Instagram, I'm Nicole Renee on Next Step with Nicole Renee. Same on Facebook. You can find me even under Nicole Cowley. So Cowley. You can find me on LinkedIn again under Next Step with Nicole Renee. All those places you can find me, and I'm always, always open to connecting with people. So if anybody ever wants to share their heart messages or, anything that they need, it fills my heart to do that. So please reach out. And I want to thank you with all my heart for having me here today and being able to share this time with you, because it's been so special to hear your thoughts on so much as well, and to be able to talk about these important subjects that really are changing our lives. So thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Nicole. And for everyone who is listening, again, thank you, Nicole. And if you will look at the description of the podcast, I will share, of course, contact details for Nicole and anything that she wants to share with you guys. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for feeling hearts today with both of us here. And hopefully it made your day. Hopefully it made your night whenever you're listening. So have fun and have a beautiful day or evening. Bye.
Bye bye.